so you don't smell like,
Yeah.
smell like a aftershave or a shaving cream.
Oh, when I went home from work too, they
Stink
had
like
more
the
of the
rest
lanes
of them.
open on Forest Lakes.
Oh, good.
From the light at Burger Creek
Yeah.
westward, it's all 2 lanes now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's probably gonna change overnight tonight too. They'll have more open. So they're super close.
And to Kelly, she's all excited. She's like, "Oh man, this is great."
Into the light, and I was like, wait, this isn't how it was at lunchtime.
Yeah. Consider how many times it's delayed.
Yeah,
If they think there's
Everybody's
a lot of
surprised
them
by
are
beer market,
good
isn't it?
news.
It can salvage
Get done
anything.
early after 17 delays.
Oh, I had it, in case he's gone,
Can you
because
tell
it
I
used to
changed
be,
my picture? They still have my old campaign picture, blurry one.
on vacation. I'm the city manager, but that one we know
Yeah.
previously.
I love it. I love that you have a name tag. I'm agree.
Anybody pulls anything with my pictures, like they did for the national.
Bryn's gonna be
fair,
on TV
whatever,
now 'cause
they
you're
pulled that
sitting
picture
closer.
and everybody else's headshots.
There were more lanes open
Good
when I
side.
went
It's
left
not
from
a
work.
Good side.
ego thing, it's more of a
Both of you?
professional.
Well,
I don't need
Fight
it.
Jim
I've
to
seen
the
it.
end.
he knows it's
Yeah. He likes the
Apparently, I
end
don't
seat.
get out much.
You don't venture to that side of the highway much, except going home.
Yeah, you have no clue about it.
One day
Amazing isn't the right word.
one day the railroad crossing will just be open.
Well, you're probably right.
It's gonna
We'll
get.
get no notice and it'll just be like, I'll be driving down Douglas and I'll peek and then I'll text you and be like, hey, did you know? Thank you.
Doug's
Nice job.
I
Oh,
like this.
thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
I went down there the other day though. It's like, it's totally done except the signals, right?
Yeah, that just, well, we have some problems.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Even that should be able to be resolved.
Insurance causes some of it, but it's a little deeper.
Shame.
You know, and I don't know that we need to keep this message up there.
I changed it a little bit, but yeah, we'll go over the wording and maybe take it up
Change it up
completely.
a
But I
little
did
bit.
wanna, Cindy had a great idea to stress the live streaming, so.
Very good. Good man.
So I didn't change it this one, but for the next one.
Traffic changes and, because in those October that they had initially. So,
They'll be done before
They're done.
October, I think, at the rate they're going right now.
But we'll get something tomorrow.
It's delayed.
Right. Ran out of striping tape.
Remember, we're training. Mike warning. Check, check.
Listen, I haven't seen you in a hot minute, so like, I'm happy that you're close to me. Your tummy?
No, it wasn't.
Like wobbling in that foot.
It's all the Coke Zero's fault.
Mm. You know, it's Taco Tuesday.
It wasn't for me.
I don't know. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. I want to call the Tuesday, May 18th, 2021 meeting of the Oldsmar City Council to order. The next two items on the agenda are the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by our city attorney. Please rise.
Heavenly Father, we are so grateful to be given the opportunity to serve our community. Please be with us as the city council weighs the pros and cons of each matter placed before them. Give them the wisdom on how to best represent the city of Oldsmar and its residents. We also ask that you give the council courage so that even when it's hard, they will continue to boldly represent their constituents and those that are most vulnerable. This we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. So you'll notice that we're all sitting up here and we're not all spread out. It feels a little weird to have these two next to me again. I mean, I've gotten used to them being right out there where they can look at you and let you know with a look that you shouldn't have said that. So in any event, but all of us have been vaccinated. So there's a message in that. If you're of the mindset, go get vaccinated. All right, next item on the agenda is Citizens Open Forum. We only have a few rules. Number one, you have up to 5 minutes to speak. You could speak on any item other than the public hearing items, which is going to be items number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Other than that, talk away. No. So we ask that you give your name and address, include your city and zip code. We don't want to assume that you are from our fine city. So I'm going to go ahead and start on this side of the room. Anybody like to speak? I'll start with Sharon. You go right up there, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sharon Edwards. I live at 60 Ashley Lane, Oldsmar, Florida, 34677. I'm very excited and happy to announce that the city once again agreed to partner up with the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce and myself, the Project Pop Drop Foundation, to do their 6th annual Pop Drop benefiting Oldsmar Cares for the whole month of June. We'll start this event on June 1st, and the Pop Drop itself is on June 26th, Saturday. We have narrowed it down to 20 different businesses that will have the Pop Drop collection boxes. And every year, the mayor has been so nice, and Doug Beavis and the chamber, we went around to 34 to 40 different businesses doing a video, and it was like, we're stumbling over our words and all that. So we switched it up this year. We're giving each place a specific item to collect so that nothing is overlooked. And then we're having a contest for each business is going to do their own video and to encourage people to come in, and whoever is the most creative at the end of the month is going to receive a $100 gift card. And when they do the video, they are going to tag the city, the chamber, and Project Pop Drop, and Oldsmar Cares in it so that everyone gets to see it. And your item is canned vegetables. So we're also going to have on the 19th, we have a new general manager at the Oldsmar Walmart. She has agreed to continue with the tradition of having a tailgate party there, where we will have volunteers. Dan, you've been awesome with this, as well as you, Mayor. We'll be giving out shopping lists for the customers to come in, purchase 1 or 2 items, and then we have the truck there, and that we can put them on there as well. So thank you once again. Excited, looking forward to seeing you all, and I can hardly wait to see your video.
Well, thank you for doing the project again. It's such an important part of supplying stuff for Oldsmar Cares. And it's a lot of fun to do. It's a lot of fun. The only thing is with the changing of the videos where we're not making them all, that means that we no longer have to endure the blooper reel that you always put together. So that's probably a good thing.
Trust me, we'll still go out during the month.
I see.
And I'll see you tomorrow morning too to do our,
That's
our
right.
one major video.
That's
we're doing,
right.
so.
We bring different shirts and, yeah, it's
Yeah.
And then the date for the Super Walmart, when you get that, just so I can put it on my calendar, because I'll be there with the donuts again.
You are awesome. You do that every year, and we thank you.
Yep.
So thanks. Thank you, everyone.
all right. Anybody else on this side of the room? Come on up.
Good evening, Amber Stevens, 318 Lafayette Boulevard. And I know it's been discussed several times, but just wanted to help reiterate, talking about our youth that are riding bikes in inappropriate places, just trying to find an outlet for them. Mayor, we discussed some points, possibly opening some roads up for the kids, giving some more incentives. Also, we talked about law enforcement possibly confiscating bikes. There could be a fee involved, but I think what something could be better is having them do community service projects and working with the city council, maybe working with Leisure Services Advisory Board, something of that sort. So just wanted to help reiterate that again, that to look for something to help out these youth so they're biking in appropriate places.
Thank you. I asked our city manager, it's going to be later, much later in the meeting, but to give us a little bit of insight to some of the things that he's found kind of along the stick and the carrot method. He's found more of the stick, which is not a surprise, but thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have anybody else on this side of the room? Anybody on this side of the room? All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and close the Citizens Open Forum. Next item on the agenda is the Community Minute, which will be presented by our City Clerk, Ann Nixon.
Friday, May 21st, 7 o'clock p.m. at Mario's Park is Sunset Sounds Concert Series featuring the Cats Band. Bring your own blanket, chairs, friends, cats. Golf cart parking available, social distancing observed, weather permitting. And if you're looking for more, just turn the page. And then there's a pitch, hit, and run on Saturday, May 22nd at 8 o'clock in the morning at Oldsmar Sports Complex. Free competition for young players to show off their baseball skills by competing in pitching, hitting, and running against others in their age group. So pitch, hit, and run is on Saturday, May 22nd. And after you're done with that, you can go and catch a tree with a free tree giveaway. Saturday, May 22nd, 9 to 11 at Municipal Services Complex. Oldsmar residents can receive 2 free trees per household at the event. 4 species will be available in 3-gallon size, distributed on a first-come, first-served basis. Proof of city residence required.
Very good. And not to forget the Memorial Day virtual ceremony that's coming up. That'll be streamed from our YouTube channel starting at 10 a.m. on May 31st. So thought I'd plug that in there as well. I know folks are working hard on that. Thank you, Ann. Next item on the agenda is the approval of addition of new agenda items. We have no new items tonight, so we'll move on to awards and recognition. Item number 1, presentation of Employee Service Award, which will be presented by our City Manager, Al Braithwaite.
Thank you, Mayor. This morning at 11 o'clock in front of City Hall, we had our Employee Service Awards, and pre-COVID, when an employee reached the 5-year mark, we used to allow them to go to lunch and take their department's fellow employees with them, but because of COVID, we couldn't do that. So we were kind of in catch-up mode in recognizing the 5-year people, of which there were 8 this morning. We gave them their certificates. They had already received their checks, and we bought them lunch with gift cards, with a fun little trip to finance right after that, because they had to sign acknowledging that they're taxable. My finance people just can't help themselves. So I just wanted to read them to you. This morning, we recognized Melvin Saflor, who's a firefighter, Dave Lavelle, who's in Public Works, Rodney Coist, who's in Public Works, Kyle Kantner in Public Works, Katie Forelli is our Purchasing Specialist, Administrative Services, Paul Grenier, another firefighter, Juan Marsuli, who's in Leisure Services, and Stephen Andux, who's in Public Works. So those people all received their 5-year service awards. And then we had one 10-year service award, which is this morning, and hopefully we get a picture. There he is. Bruce Manny, who works in Leisure Services and has now been with us for 10 years. Most of you know or remember the name. Bruce is the son of former council member Ed Manny, great man, passed away last year. And we recognized Bruce this morning for his 10 years of service, and we all had a good time.
Well, good. All right, next item on the agenda is the Community Redevelopment Agency. We have no business under the CRA tonight. So we'll go on to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent docket, which will be announced by our City Clerk, Ann Nixon.
Item number 2, approve minutes of the April 26, 2021 work session on amendments to Land Development Code for flood-related matters. And item number 3, approve payment to legal counsel for April 2021 legal services.
Thank you. Is there anybody who wishes to pull anything from the consent docket? All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Next item on the agenda, City of Oldsmar, presentation of Emergency Medical Services Week proclamation, and Council Member Gannon is going to do that presentation.
Mayor?
You're welcome.
So excited. The whole team's here. At least a few minutes. Oh, okay. No worries.
Just like that.
It was about 20 minutes. She
Yeah.
had the microphone and the nameplate, and now it's over. I'll give it back, I promise. Hey, everybody. It's my distinct pleasure tonight to announce the proclamation for the Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical services are a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, I, Katie Gannon, on behalf of Eric Seidel, Mayor of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, do hereby proclaim the week of May 16th through the 22nd, 2021, as Emergency Medical Services Week with the theme, This is EMS. Caring for our communities. I encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities and uncomfortable photographs. Come on up, you guys. Dave Young's here, Kenny's here, Chief's here. Come on up, guys. Get the fancy side here. You can leave it's okay, you can leave your masks on if you want to. I'm vaccinated, though. We'll give Felicia back.
Dave, you want to introduce who you have? Jay?
Yeah, you got it.
Again, that was...
Is it on?
Yeah, it is. Sometimes you get it not good.
Thank you, Felicia. This is Lieutenant Kenny Cerrone, Lieutenant on B shift. We have paramedic Brian McGonigal, paramedic Terry Hodges, and EMT Chris Caberna, and then our chief, Jason Swaby. And I'm Dave Young. I'm the EMS coordinator. I want to say something. I want to thank these guys. This year has been very trying for us, especially when this all first started. Our protocols, equipment, everything was changing on a daily basis, and they handled it greatly. No real complaints, and so thank you for making my job easy.
Did you guys have to add an additional layer?
Yeah, so we had to add full face masks with air filters and gowns, and we had to do certain, hair nets, and we had booties we had to wear, which the booties didn't turn out that great because they were slick on.
Not good.
It was crazy. It's okay, not good. There you go.
So it turned out good, and these guys, like I said, handled it like a champ, and so I can't complain. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
No?
Hey. No, don't.
Pretty sure I can get cropped out if I'm in there.
Thank you. I'll tell you what, before you guys go, just on behalf of the council and the city as a whole, we can't thank you enough, especially during this past year, everything that's gone on, all the unknowns, and all of the extra risks that you're exposed to, not knowing when there was very little anybody knew about was this pandemic. And so your community is grateful to each and every one of you. So don't ever think that we don't understand how much you on the line for us all the time. So thank you.
Mayor, can I add something?
Yeah.
I just only because I know one part of this, and I don't mean to ignore the rest of you guys, but Lieutenant Cerrone and I had a conversation because, to your point, the unknown was bad enough. He was the first one that had to address a known person on a call that they knew had the virus. And suited up or not, you want to talk about a moment. He's got a young family, and so what you guys do is amazing enough, but he and I had shared a little conversation about G-rated version of what you were thinking or feeling, but that was, wow. Yeah, that was, so, Kenny, thank you, but I know that doesn't do it for the number of times the rest of the guys do the same thing, but I just remember you were the first one to have to face somebody and treat them who we knew had it. It wasn't unknown. He was on a call where we knew the person had it, so thank you guys, but especially you, Kenner.
Thank you, guys.
And now the alarm goes off and they're running out. No.
Right?
All right, city attorney.
Well, I've got a lot of ordinances tonight. The first four are going to be second readings, so I'm going to read this by title only. I'm going to start with ordinance 2021-06, and here it goes. An ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, amending Chapter 70 Utilities to add definition for manufactured home and amend definitions for sewage and sewage treatment plant. Delete reference to Section 70-506 in 70-41. Include Pinellas County Building Inspectors and Power of Authority Clause. Add provision requiring annexation for connection to sewer service. Specify connection is required if sewer main is located adjacent to right-of-way. Require a permanent utility easement for the city infrastructure not located in a right-of-way. Remove requirements for chain link fence with barbed wire. Move approval authority from city engineer to city manager or designee. Remove county health department approval requirement for water and sewer facilities. Specify that the city manager is responsible for construction standards. Delete section 70-73, certain projects required to reuse or dispose of wastewater effluent. Amend cost provisions for temporary water service. Revise prohibition for meddling with hydrants to allow for emergencies. Amend permit requirements for withdrawing water. Replace term for sprinkler with irrigation regarding wells and lawn sprinkler systems. Remove language regarding city council approval for master meters and move responsibility for installation of water meters from city employees to city manager or designee. Require access to premises to allow for cross-connection control. Specify public works director to be in charge of the public works department. Replace term for recovered with reclaimed throughout the chapter, and update definition for recovered water. Add manufactured home parks as a facility requiring backflow protection. Delete requirement for cross-connection permits which are used for backflow prevention devices. Update name for State Department of Environmental Protection. Amend definition of local limits and pretreatment standards and add the definition for North American Industrial Classification System. Add the abbreviation for NICS. Delete requirement that Public Works Director enforce WRF provisions. Update references to code section for WRF prohibitions. Correct grammar in section 70-229. Remove reference to PWD authority regarding wastewater discharge. Update NICS number reference. Update permit modification requirements in reference to code section. Define timeframe and method for reporting potential problems. Update reference for reporting requirements relating to certification statements. Add lint traps to items for pretreatment. Recognize interruption of service for operational needs. Add manufactured homes to definition for developed residential property. Update storm sewer definitions to reflect water bodies and systems owned by others. Increase fine amount for violation of stormwater permit. Add provision for construction activities and stormwater discharge prohibitions. Remove surety bond reference for deposits. Clarify required notice for scheduling. Update code reference for water main connection fees. Add account holder notice requirements regarding user charge. Add introduction paragraph for section 70-453, private lift station permit and inspection fees, reinspection fee. Update description of monthly billing services and providing for an effective date. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2021-06 by title only.
Thank you, City Manager. Any remarks?
No, sir.
We have a staff presentation.
No, sir.
There is no applicant. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor of this? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing there is nobody, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and second. Discussion? Benson, you ready to vote? Roll call?
Councilmember Grady?
Yes.
Councilmember Trackie?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Knapp? Yes. Councilmember Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Seidel?
Yes.
2021-06, amending Chapter 70 is adopted with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Excellent. Item 6.
Item 6 is ordinance 2021-07. I'll read that by title only. An ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, amending Chapter 1, general provisions to add life estate language to owner definition and providing for an effective date of this ordinance. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2021-07 by title only.
City Manager?
No, sir.
City Staff?
No, sir.
No applicant. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing there is no one, I'll close the public hearing. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, roll call, please.
Councilmember Graber?
Yes.
Councilmember Starkey?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Knapp?
Yes.
Councilmember Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Seidel?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-07, amending Chapter 1 is adopted with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Item 7.
Item number 7 is ordinance 2021-08, an ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, amending Chapter 10, amusements and entertainments to correct a scrivener's error in the purpose provision for Chapter 10. Replace city manager or designee for Community Development Department throughout the Chapter 10 and providing for an effective date of this ordinance. That was the second and final reading of ordinance 2021-08 by title only.
Thank you. City Manager?
No, sir.
City Staff?
No, sir.
There's no applicant. I'll open the public hearing at this time. Is there any proponents who wish to speak on this item? Any opponents? Seeing there is none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Graber?
Yes.
Councilmember Starkey?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Knapp?
Yes.
Councilmember Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Seidel?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-08, amending Chapter 10 is adopted with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you. Item 8.
Item 8 is ordinance 2021-09, an ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, amending Chapter 14, Civic and Cultural Affairs to delete the definition of public art and design master plan and add the definitions of annual public art and design plan, artist or professional artist, and artwork of works of art. Amend the provision of intent for civic and cultural affairs, amend the provision for public art and design allocations for private construction projects and developments, amend the provisions for the establishment of a public art fund, add a provision for the ownership and maintenance of all works of art, and providing for an effective date of this ordinance. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2021-09 by title only.
Thank you. City Manager?
No, sir.
Any staff presentation?
No staff presentation.
No applicant is here, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this? I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Discussion? Clearly, for the public, a lot of this is housekeeping that we're cleaning up, so we'll be doing this a lot until we go through a few hundred of them. So get used to it. All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Graber?
Yes.
Councilmember Starkey?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Knapp?
Yes.
Councilmember Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Seidel?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-09, amending Chapter 14 is adopted with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Item 9.
Item number 9 is ordinance 2021-05, an ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances, Part 3 Land Development Code, Article 2 Definitions, and Part 6 Flood Control, Stormwater Management, and Wetlands Protection to provide criteria for accessory structures in flood hazard areas, to specify elevation of manufactured homes in flood hazard areas, to include previously adopted amendments to the Florida Building Code in Article 6, and adopt new amendments to the Florida Building Code, providing for applicability and severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the first reading of ordinance 2021-05 by title only.
Okay. City Manager?
Yes, sir, just this is what we know as the flood ordinance, and there's been plenty of conversation that council's had on it, and that the planning board, since our last conversation, have met and voted 7-0 to recommend this ordinance.
Okay. Do you have any presentation from staff?
None planned, but Public Works and Planning and Redevelopment would stand available to answer any questions.
Okay. Any council members wish to have any questions asked of staff?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, I'll go ahead and, at this time then, and open the hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this item? All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve. I have a motion, and I have a second.
Yes, sir.
Second? Discussion?
Other than to thank Tatiana Childress for the wonderful presentation at the work session.
Yeah.
Did a great job. This is tough stuff.
It's tough stuff. And it's stuff that's going to become increasingly more important, where we try to find those areas to provide some discounts on things that we put in our code that probably isn't going to have any impact on anybody because of the new floodplain levels. And so that's going to be a balancing act that, staff deserves a lot of credit for looking at and seeing what we can do. All right, any other comments?
Also, I want to just mention that the meeting with the planning board, I stayed for your presentation. I thought the employees did a wonderful job. You're welcome.
Very good. All right, Sensing you're ready to vote, roll call?
Councilmember Graber?
Yes.
Councilmember Saraki?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Knapp?
Yes.
Councilmember Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Seidel?
Yes.
First reading of ordinance 2021-05, amending the Land Development Code to provide criteria for accessory structures in flood hazard areas and to provide elevation of manufactured homes in flood hazard areas, passes with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Excellent. Item 10.
Item 10 is ordinance 2021-10, an ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, amending Section 2-54A of Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances to delete references to employees hired before 1996. Amending Section 2-135 of Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances to delete a reference to appealing code enforcement board orders by certiorari, updating the reference to the most current Florida statutes, and correcting a typographical error relating to the word appealed. And amending Section 2-137A2 of Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances to correct a typographical error relating to the word infraction, and providing for an effective date of this ordinance. That was the first reading of ordinance 2021-10 by title only.
All right. City Manager.
Yes, sir, just that this was one of the chapters where we did not have a council consensus, and we have to resolve that tonight or by the second reading.
Okay. Anything from staff?
No, sir.
All right. Public comments. If anybody wishes to speak on this item from the public, Ken? No? Okay. Yeah, I believe this is actually the item that you wanted to speak on. Yeah, yeah. Regarding, part of this ordinance incorporates the compensation.
Thanks, Mayor. Ken Sidorowicz, 5 Pelican Drive. As a member of the Ordinance Review Committee, I didn't realize that this was part of my chapter, but it was. And I'm here to speak about the suggestions that we submitted for increases in your remuneration. How's that word? We, as the committee, got some great information from the city clerk about neighboring communities, what their city councils, et cetera, and mayors were compensated with. That was great information for us. Personally, I am a fiscal conservative, although at times I do get cheese on my Happy Meals. So I'm not stringent in that regard. But when we saw the salaries of city council and also took note that they had not been increased since 2006, we scratched our heads. And comparing what neighborhood communities pay and the 15-year gap from the last time your compensation was increased, we made our suggestions, which you have in front of you. And I would just say that if you're reluctant to approve such increases, please don't be. They're certainly not from yourselves. They're from the Ordinance Review Committee. And I would also venture to say that employees at McDonald's and even our city employees have had increases in the last 15 years. So do not be shy. If you think that our suggestions were too generous, make some kind of suggestion, but do not, I don't want to use the word deny, but do not table this suggestion for increasing your compensation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, Pamela Settle, 439 Lakeview Drive. I served as chair of the Ordinance Review Committee. Wanted to just there's 5 people in this room that voted yes for that. It was unanimous. You had a cross-section of people. It's a citizen committee. We reviewed the item. We discussed the item at length. It wasn't a small item. We talked about it. We looked at how some cities pay benefits and there's other costs that are reimbursed. And we felt that this was very fair and very necessary. And it was unanimous. So this was the citizens, the people saying, our city council is worth it. We want to be inclusive of people in the future. We also know that people lose time at work and have expenses, so there really isn't any shame in accepting some type of a payment for the time that you give and the commitment that you give, your extra time and out-of-pocket expenses. If it is something that you don't feel you personally need, the option to donate that is always there, but I wouldn't stop somebody else from getting it who might need to have it for their other personal expenses down the road. So I would encourage you to, think about the future city council people and being inclusive in that. And so I just wanted to say this was unanimous, and it did come after much discussion and looking at multiple issues, and we were very much all in favor of passing this for the future. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Pam.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on this item? All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the public public hearing, excuse me. All right, so clearly this chapter has quite a bit of stuff in it. I will entertain a motion based on what's been read, but I will also state that if anybody wanted to, because there are some typo stuff in here that's getting cleaned up, if anybody wanted to make a motion to change the way we go about this, which I would say if we wanted to take section 2.2 out, that certainly is a possibility. So I'm going to follow the protocol and say, Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Just to be clear, this section 2-2 is not in this ordinance. Okay, so it would be to add it to this ordinance if you wanted it. I prepared it based upon the direction that I was given that no one was interested in moving forward on this, so it is not included in the ordinance. So if you want to include it, I'm going to need to amend
Okay.
it. Okay.
All right.
Just want to make sure I was clear on that. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't clear on that because I see it's
in
as the background information.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so then the ordinance as prepared does not include that.
Correct.
Okay, all right, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, discussion.
I need to be clear on the motion.
Who made the motion first?
I did. To
Andrew?
approve as presented.
Okay, so you have the floor first, if you'd like to comment.
Deliberating, I think, before the work session, about this recommendation, I had some pause in it, and especially after some passionate presentation at the work session that was related to this chapter, gave me some additional thought, but at the same time, what Pam just said about, it's an opportunity to where if it's not about the money at all and it were to happen to be increased, donating that to charity is a worthy choice. So that's just something to keep in mind if some type of amendment were to pop up here. So that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Who seconded that?
I did. I just wanted to clarify that we didn't have consensus, but I guess technically we had consensus that we weren't going to bring it up. And so it was my understanding that it wouldn't be included in the ordinance today. So while I understand that it's on the cover memo, it's not
Right.
included within the language. So I thought that's what we were voting on tonight. So that's
Which
how
is
I
what we are.
understood it. So, which I understand. So going back to it, there was consensus that we weren't going to discuss it. So I just wanted to make sure that we were all clear on that. Beyond yes, I was on the ORC. I agreed with what Tom presented during our discussion on this. But also, to the Vice Mayor's point, there was some pushback on it by former mayors, other former council members. Is it too much? Is there a smaller increase that we could add potentially? But I didn't think that was going to be open for discussion. So when I saw it here, I wasn't really sure where we were heading on this because, like I said, we had consensus that it wasn't going to be discussed. So that's all I really wanted to say. But I wanted to second the motion so we could open the discussion portion of the public hearing.
Very good. Councilmember Saraki?
I got a couple things, Mayor. When this item came up, I was totally against it, totally against it. Completely didn't want anything to do with it, because what Jerry Beaverland said about why we're here. I've dedicated my life to the city council and not worried about the pay. But things have changed in the last election, that I've seen things change. Katie, especially you. You have 2 kids, 2 young kids. Our generations are changing right now. And then Andrew just had a baby. You're bringing your baby right to community events. And then Steve, your 2 young kids. You bring them to community events.
Absolutely.
There's a change. There's a change in the guard. I see that this needs to pass. There needs to be more money for council members, especially for young families like you. That's what I have to say, Mayor.
Very good. Councilmember Gannon.
Thank you, Mayor. I am, like most lawyers, somewhere in the middle. The wording of section 2.2 includes a couple of provisions. Some of them, the numeric amounts, were suggested by the Ordinance Review Committee. And the purple text was added stating salaries will be evaluated every 5 years by a citizen committee, was added by our city manager and assistant city manager following our work session on this particular item. I am specifically opposed to the sentence that states salaries will increase by 3% every October 1st. I believe that our Ordinance Review Committee and the sentence salaries will be evaluated every 5 years by a citizen committee is the better way to do it. I think it's a little bit more merit-based as opposed to automatic. I think if our city employees have both a merit-based as well as a cost of living, it should be a merit-based assessment by our citizens. And an annual increase kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So that's how I feel about that particular sentence in the middle there. As for the amounts, I am of the opinion that Mr. Sidorowicz mentioned, which is that it is a bit much, although I very much appreciate the committee's recommendation and recognition of the work that does go into being on council and what it's like to have 2 kids and do it all, right? But I did feel that it was a little too much. I understand that an excess amount could be donated. However, that money could also be allocated elsewhere in the city's budget, which to me might make a little bit more sense, especially as all of our departments are kind of tightening their belts to find just a little bit more room for capital improvement projects and those surprise expenses that have come along. I did, don't laugh, I'm a lawyer, I don't normally do math, but I did do a couple of mathematical calculations. I thought, okay, well, what is, it's been 15 years, so what's $50 increase per year for those 15 years which we didn't address it? Because I do feel like other projects, maybe even like the Harbor Problems Infrastructure Project, past councils have kicked this down the road, and it's been kicked down the road until it's an uncomfortable conversation. It's always an uncomfortable conversation for all of us sitting up here, but it's an important one to have because, as Pam said, there's going to be a future council where maybe some young person sitting out there will be sitting up here and giving the same debate and the same speech, and it's been 25 years, and now it's even more uncomfortable because the duration of time is even greater to be multiplied by a monetary amount. So in case you're curious, $50 per year of that 15 years accounts for $750. If that were added to the council members, that would be $9,750 annually. To the mayor's position, it would equate to $11,550 annually. Alternatively, I also calculated a 3% increase just from that base amount, because a 3% increase is kind of typical for our staff. Now, that doesn't account for 3% over 15 years, because I felt that that also was too high. So a 3% increase for council members would be $252, and 3% for mayor would be $324. So I would make a different motion. I would make a motion to approve. I understand that's not the motion on the table, but in my opinion, I would make a motion to approve 2.2, amending it to remove the statement that salaries will increase by 3% every October 1st, and changing the monetary amounts to what I felt was a more appropriate amount.
Okay.
What's that
If you're
amount?
making a motion in the way of an amendment, you need to be specific as to what that changed amount is.
She was not the maker of the motion.
I know, but you can make a motion to amend.
Gotcha.
Within the main motion.
Yeah, it's within the main motion. We'd vote on that first, whether or not that's acceptable. And then we go back to the main motion after, if it was amended, if it passed.
I would make a motion to amend the motion on the floor to approve section 2-2 compensation of mayor and council, to change the $14,000 suggestion to $9,750 for council members and $11,550 for mayor. Delete the sentence that salaries will increase by 3% every October 1st.
So the math doesn't work right? If you had 750 and 8,400, that would be 9150. It's not 9750.
You want to point that out?
I was just, your suggestion would be to increase both by $750.
Yes, sir.
So if it was $8,400, 750 added would be 9150, not 9750.
My one looks a lot like a 7, Tom. Are you sure you did that right?
I think the math is 9150 if you're going to increase it by $750.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that the motion was clear.
And
Okay.
11,550 is correct.
That's correct.
Right.
11,550 would be the other.
Mayor,
Okay.
are we allowed to have any other comments, or?
Well, here's what we got. We got a motion right now to amend as stated. So to proceed with that, I would require a second.
I'll second that motion
All
to
right, so,
amend.
thank you. So there's a motion and a second to amend as presented. And now it would be appropriate to take any comments on that. And who made that? You made it, so you're free to speak again.
I reiterate my prior comments. If this amended motion fails, I am happy to entertain alternative amounts. I had a little bit of sticker shock at the amount suggested by the Ordinance Review Committee, although I entirely appreciate their research and the research done by our city staff. I just did a little bit of math throwing out certain cities that are larger than us, and this is kind of where I landed. So
Very good.
I'm interested to learn others' opinions.
Councilmember Knapp,
I
you
will
second it?
defer to others'
Very
opinions
good.
and discussion
Councilmember.
on the topic.
Oh, okay, thank you, Mayor. Katie, thank you for doing that. I thought about the same thing. I thought it was a little bit high, and I came up with different numbers. I thought an increase of $2,000 for council members and $2,000 increase for the mayor, which would bring it to 10,400 and 12,800 would be a little bit better for the council members and the mayor. I thought that would be a better number, a rounded number. It wasn't so high, but I think a little bit better than just $750. I just from the past few weeks and months, just watching the team, I think there should be a better increase than just $750. Those are my comments.
Okay. We're still talking to the main motion if you wish to comment, Councilmember.
No further comment right now.
Okay, I will comment because I haven't had an opportunity to do so. I appreciate the committee's work on this. I don't support raising it, okay? And here's the reason why. I feel very strongly that if you're going to make that kind of change, and it's relevant. I mean, our compensation as a council member is relevant to what the other cities are. Some have a little bit more, some have some benefits. They also have bigger budgets, right? And so they're dealing with bigger numbers than we are as a city. And that wasn't part of the research that we did in looking at the full picture. We looked at population, but not necessarily what kind of budgets are they managing, and that's important. What I would support is putting this in the way of a referendum. And the reason for that is I just have a problem with, and I know this doesn't take effect for us here right now, right? I understand that, and I make sure all the citizens understand that that's the type of discussion. But I just think it makes a lot more sense that the citizens, actually, all the citizens, not the committee we appoint, who I know they did all their due diligence, not taking anything away from them, but it's just like when you start talking about term limits, compensation, a length of term, those types of questions I've always felt should be asked directly to the citizens. And while we don't need to put together a referendum for the purpose of just that, it's certainly something that could be added when we have a citywide election so that citizens can chime in. They can vote. I mean, they could come in and say, hey, no, we think you guys are volunteers. And we don't believe that there should be compensation, or we feel like, yeah, maybe more people would be eligible or able to participate if there was compensation. So that's how I feel about it. And so, all right, any more discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote on the amendment. So we're voting on the amendment, and then on your amendment, correct?
Am I allowed to make a different amendment?
We have to vote on this first. If it dies, you can do so. Okay, so roll call on the amendment, please.
Councilmember Graber?
No.
Councilmember Saraki?
No.
Councilmember Knapp?
No.
I mean Vice Mayor Knapp, no.
Yeah.
Councilmember Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Seidel?
No. Okay, so we're back to the main motion. Now, if somebody else wanted to propose an amendment, they're
Yes,
certainly
Mayor,
welcome to do
I would
so.
like to make an amendment to section 2.2, compensation of the mayor and the city council. I would like to increase the council member pay to $10,400. I would like to increase the mayor's pay to $12,800. As Katie stated, I would like to strike out salaries will increase by 3% every October 1st. And I agree with salaries will be evaluated every 5 years by a citizens committee.
Okay, we have that in the way of an amendment that's been proposed. Do I have a second to that? Dies for lack of second. All right, we're going back to the main motion at this point. So there is a motion on the floor. I'm certainly open to any more discussion, keeping in mind that the motion is the main motion, which does not have this provision in it, just for clarity. And so if there's not any other discussion?
Go ahead, Andrew.
I just have a question.
Sure.
Based on your proposal of potentially offering this up as a referendum question, would that provide additional opportunity ahead of the referendum taking place to garner citizen input in advance of waiting to see the outcome? I guess that might be a Tom question.
So it would be done in the form of an ordinance. Any change to the charter would be done in the form of an ordinance. So you would have 2 public hearings. It would not become effective until the referendum. So you would have public appearing at those 2 public hearings and discussing that ordinance as to whether or not it should be adopted. So you could get input there, or if you wanted to have a separate special meeting or workshop to discuss it, you could do that as well.
All right.
Okay.
But it wouldn't take effect until it would have to be approved by
After
the
the
citizens.
referendum. Okay.
Councilmember Gannon?
I'm interested in the referendum option as well. I was not aware of that until it was brought up just this few moments ago by the mayor. Thank you for bringing that up. I am interested in additional citizen input. I don't think it's productive for us to make amendments to the motion on the floor by going up and down $10 until we can find something that everyone is comfortable with. So I would propose that we either have a workshop or ask Tom for some additional guidance on how we can get some more citizen input, if it's a referendum or some other method that we've not yet
Well,
thought of.
let me just say this, we can add this as an agenda item,
I think we should.
okay? And
Right.
So, separate from the motion that we're voting on right now.
Right.
Any one of us can add it as an agenda item for a future meeting.
Right, it would just
And
be
bring it
another
up.
ordinance,
It'd
right?
be another ordinance, it would start the process, it would work something like this. It would be added as an agenda item, there'd be discussion, then we would essentially direct the city attorney to draft some language, which would then go through the ordinance process. At which point, we're going through the process and making it a public hearing and attempting to get some more input on it. All right, we good?
I intend to do that when we
Perfect.
reach the.
I think you should, no, I think we should. I mean, like I said, I just think that the citizens collectively should have more input on it. It's their council. This is gonna outlive all of us. This is gonna outlive all of us. So let's get everybody in it and, but I think the review committee came up with some very practical and logical reasons for why there should be some change. But doing it ourselves, I don't know, just never seems to be right with me. Anyhow,
I have a quick question for
go
Tom.
right ahead.
Is there a reason why we have the ordinance review committee if we're gonna do a referendum? Do we still need them?
So, yes, your charter requires to have an ordinance review committee every set number of years. And so that's the direction that they're given to review the ordinances. As for the charter review committee, they did not come up with that recommendation to add it to the charter. But that's something that you can do, obviously. You don't need the ordinance review committee to do that, and you don't need the charter review committee to do that. You can do that on your own.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, roll call.
Councilmember Graber,
Yes.
Councilmember Starkey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Knapp,
Yes.
Councilmember Gannon,
Yes.
Mayor Seidel.
Yes.
First reading of ordinance 2021-10, amending chapter 2 as presented, is passed with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Excellent. Item 11?
Thank you. This is ordinance 2021-11. An ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, amending section 18-38C of chapter 18 of the Code of Ordinances to delete the duplicative language regarding the city water system, amending section 18-40E1 of chapter 18 of the Code of Ordinances to include references to the city manager's designee as it relates to the declaration of a state of emergency, and revising chapter 18 of the Code of Ordinances by replacing the term his with the term their, and providing for an effective date. This ordinance, that was a reading of ordinance 2021-11 by title only.
Thank you. City Manager?
Yes, sir, there was consensus on this particular chapter, and this would be the first reading of that ordinance.
Okay, do we have any staff presentation?
None planned.
Okay, no applicant present. Does anybody want a presentation from staff? Need any questions of them? Nope. Okay, I'm going to move on. I'm going to open the public hearing at this time. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this item? Seeing that there is not, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. The chair will entertain a motion to approve. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Discussion. Sensing you're ready to vote, roll call.
Councilmember Graber,
Yes.
Councilmember Starkey.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Knapp.
Yes.
Councilmember Gannon.
Yes.
Mayor Seidel.
Yes.
First reading of ordinance 2021-11, amending chapter 18, passes with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Well,
Item number 12 is ordinance 2021-12, an ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, deleting sections 30-33 and 30-34 and renumbering the remainder sections of chapter 30 of the Code of Ordinances and providing for an effective date of this ordinance. That was a reading of ordinance 2021-12 by title only.
thank you. City Manager?
Again, this was a chapter where there was consensus. This is the first reading, and we don't have a staff report planned.
Thank you. There's no applicant, so I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this item? Seeing that there is none, I'm going to go ahead and close it. The chair will entertain a motion to approve. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Benson, you're ready to vote? Roll call.
Councilmember Graber,
Yes.
Councilmember Starkey.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Knapp.
Yes.
Councilmember Gannon.
Yes.
Mayor Seidel.
Yes.
First reading of ordinance 2021-12, amending chapter 30, passes with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you, sir. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Item 13 is approve interlocal agreement with Pinellas County for the distribution of the potential additional 1 to 5 cent local option fuel tax. Pinellas County is proposing the right to levy up to an additional 5 cents local option fuel tax. The proposal would keep the revenue sharing agreement formula exactly as it has been for the current gas tax, 40% of which goes to the cities after the county gets the first 60, distribution among cities based on population. Approval of this interlocal agreement ensures that the city will receive its portion of the additional local option fuel tax, providing supplemental funding for citywide street resurfacing and sidewalk improvement projects. Pinellas County needs to adopt an ordinance by September 30th of this year, levying the 5-cent local option fuel tax in whole or in part. If the county does not adopt the ordinance by September 30 of this year, the interlocal agreement, even if we do agree to it, will terminate. If adopted, the additional local option fuel tax will be effective beginning January 1st, 2022, and will be validated through December 31st, 2032. Important to note here simply that all council's being asked to do here is agree to the distribution formula. If the way the county, it's a county decision to pass the tax, they can't pass the tax if more than a majority or if less than a majority of the municipalities agree to the interlocal. But all we're really doing here is kind of getting on board that we agree to the way they'll distribute it.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? A motion and a second. Discussion? Stetson, you're all ready to vote?
Like roads.
You know, when they first started the, that tax, the price of gas was $1.12 a gallon.
It was a big portion of the gas price.
Well, no, because not, yeah, back then, yeah. but
It's a fixed amount, right?
It's a fixed amount. All right, any discussion? Stetson, you ready to vote? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Item 14.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 14 is council request to approve renaming the dog park area in Sheffield Park to Chucky's Bark Park in honor of employee Charles Chucky Monette, who passed away recently. Chucky Monette worked for the city of Oldsmar for 15 years. He was an exemplary employee, earning every award possible. For the last 5 years of his life, while still working, he was undergoing chemo treatments for a disease that eventually cost him his life. When he passed, we got together with the many friends he had, including those fellow employees that he worked with, and asked them how they thought best we could pay tribute to him. We came up with a nice send-off at the park, and one of the requests specifically that the employees make was that the council consider allowing us to rename the dog park at Sheffield Park after him, which we wholeheartedly support. Leisure Services Advisory Board did meet on May 10th to consider the suggestion and also voted 4-1 to recommend naming the dog area at the park to Chucky's Bark Park. The relevance is he was a dog guy. His dog was named Peanut. We met him because when we had to get together, we let the employees go home and bring their dogs back. So we had a nice little party, and it was kind of cool.
It was pretty cool. All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve. So moved. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to remind everybody that, you know, Chucky died, you know, while the FBI was over at the RO plant. Like, there was so much stress and so much pressure on these employees, and to lose this leader, this like Al said, exemplary employee. And then we did something really different. We didn't, you know, tell the employees, you know, how to grieve or what to say or what to do. We let them decide, and they brought their dogs. They brought their dogs because his biggest concern was not himself in his last days. It was his dog. And, you know, that was what the employees chose. They thought that, you know, bringing their dogs to his celebration of life at the park and naming the dog park after him would be a cool way to remember him. And if you ever met him, which I'm sure all of you did, or took a tour of the water plant with him, you knew his passion for everything related to Oldsmar. The dog park there is the dog park currently. There's certainly no harm in renaming it in honor of one of the most wonderful employees. I think this is entirely appropriate.
I agree. Any other comments? All right. Since you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Excellent. Well said. Number 15, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 15 is a request for council approval to waive bid requirements and approve Mater Electric Motors to conduct a rehabilitation work on the Washington lift station per the Lee County contract number B190409JJB on piggyback form 20-028. As wastewater lift stations age, the various mechanical and electrical systems degrade or are not efficient for the current operating conditions. We generally budget for at least the total rehab of at least one per year. This year, the program's focus is on the Washington lift station, which maybe ironically is located on Arlington, 202 Arlington Avenue East. So naturally, I wonder why it's not called the Arlington East lift station, but I'm guessing Nan could probably speak to that. The project includes removal of all existing mechanical equipment and the installation of 2 new 7.4 horsepower submersible pumps, base elbows, rails, and the replacement of all piping and valves from the wet well through the valve pit, including installation. The attached proposal is for the work cost at $45,745.28. The budget for the program was approved in the capital improvement budget for this year at a not to exceed $50,000. The funds are available in Fund 401, and staff recommends approval.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second, discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Is that it?
That's it, thank you, sir.
All right, city clerk.
Yes, item number 16, authorize the city attorney to draft a resolution amending the advisory boards listed in Resolution 96-26 and allowing for 2 ex officio team members to serve on the Veterans Advisory Board, Ordinance and Charter Review Committees, and future committees as deemed by City Council. Resolution 96-26 allows for 2 ex officio team members to sit on the following advisory boards: Planning Board, Community Redevelopment Agency Advisory Board, Recreation and Parks Advisory Board, and the Public Arts Committee. The state clerk recommends updating the list of boards to exclude boards and committees no longer functioning, reflect the correct names of current boards, and add the Veterans Advisory Board and Ordinance and Charter Review Committees, and add flexibilities as for yet unknown committees. The proposed list would read: Planning Board, Leisure Services Advisory Board, Veterans Advisory Board, Ordinance Review Committee, Charter Review Committee, future committees as deemed by City Council, and the Veterans Advisory Board met on April 26th and voted unanimously to recommend City Council add 2 ex officio team positions to the board. They're very excited at the idea of having teens who are in the JROTC program.
Very good, very good. All right, chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and second, discussion?
Let's do it.
One thing, was this, we're updating it to list every single board that is in existence?
No, I did not recommend the Code Enforcement Board or the Board of Adjustment because those are quasi-judicial boards. and I
Quasi-judicial
didn't
boards,
see them
okay,
appropriate.
I understand now, thank you.
Or the
That's it.
Firefighter Pension Board.
Yeah. We're gonna keep them away from the pensions.
Don't touch the legal stuff.
Probably a good idea. What do you think? Is that a good idea? All right, chief agrees. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Since you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Anything else? That's it. All right. City Council, item 17, council comments. Councilmember Gannon.
Thank you, Mayor. I had the opportunity this weekend with Leadership Pinellas Class of 2021, the essential class, best class ever, to participate in a food drive as our class project. Every class picks from applications submitted by a lot of nonprofit agencies for help. And our class selected to assist Feast, which is located over in Palm Harbor, with their food drive. This year was the first year they've actually had to hold and host their own food drive, and I was kind of surprised by that. But it was because the letter carriers, the postal carriers food drive, you know, where they put the plastic bag in your mailbox, you fill it with food, and then put it on the mailbox and they take it away, that was canceled due to COVID. And because of the exponential increase in demand for their services, they were out of pasta. It was unbelievable. Tamara, their executive director, gave us a tour, and she explained that before COVID, they served around 1,000 people per month. After COVID, it's now 2,500 people per month.
Wow.
I was flabbergasted. I was saddened because this is North Pinellas County. There's a Ferrari dealership within a mile. Like, it just didn't equate in my head, and there's so much need. I had a really, really meaningful day. And I was very grateful that Jeff Rosenfield showed up to take some awesome pictures of the event and kind of cheer us on. Every car that drove up, because we did a drive-through style for everyone's safety and comfort. And as we unloaded car after car, hour after hour, we kept cheering, not for ourselves, but for the people who drove through donating. Really meaningful event. Thank you again, Jeff, for coming out. Which leads me to Project Pop Drop. I'm so excited at how they've decided to divide the different needs by, contributors. So canned vegetables, you guys, we need to show up and show out because Feast was out of peanut butter. I'm not certain what all of Oldsmar Care's needs are because they have different system for distribution. Everything is different. So it's not apples to apples, but I know that increased need is there. So I would encourage everyone in our community to really take what Sharon said to heart, participate, even like it on Facebook or share it, just kind of spread the news. Our neighbors and people you might not think of are suffering from this stigma of having the need in the first place and food insecurity. And school's about to be out for the summer, which means kids who are on reduced cost lunches or free lunches might not be getting those lunches, or it's a lot less convenient. I know in the past there have been programs at the library, and I know we used the State Street Center, I think last year, to kind of distribute, and I hope we're able to partner or do something like that again to continue to distribute those lunches to kids so they can get, a good meal each day, because there's a large percentage of students at Forest Lakes Elementary and Oldsmar Elementary who are on free or reduced cost lunch. So, in addition, I had the distinct opportunity and pleasure to attend the Fallen Officer Memorial with you, Mayor, and our City Manager, Al Braithwaite, and Councilmember Saraki. It was so moving to be in front of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office building, surrounded by uniforms of every type, style, and color, with every local dignitary that you can imagine. The county administrator was there, our property appraiser was there, Ed Hooper was there, Senator Hooper was there, everyone. And listening to our sheriff talk about the job that his deputies and law enforcement everywhere do under the microscope now, under an unfair microscope. Because there's bad apples in every profession. I'm a lawyer, I know. But it was a really meaningful ceremony. Stephanie Magley, the widow of Deputy Michael Magley, who died in the line of duty, the first Pinellas County Sheriff's Officer to die in the line of duty, was there with her daughters, and the youngest can't even walk. She's an infant. And the oldest could barely reach up to hang the banner with her daddy's name on it on the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office flag. When Stephanie Magley spoke about how their father was a hero to his daughters before he was ever a hero to everybody else, it was very moving, and I think I jumped 3 feet with that 21 gun salute.
You did.
I physically jumped because it kind of surprised me a little bit, but it was so startling. So I am grateful for the opportunity to represent our city at events like that. Those are the events that really, really matter. I'm looking forward to a virtual Memorial Day. I would encourage all of our citizens to tune in. I know soon we will be back to full in-person events, but for this, hopefully the one last time, this virtual Memorial Day ceremony will be live casted, broadcasted, all of the casted. And I know our Veterans Advisory Board will once again put on a fantastic program. So thanks, guys.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things. First, kind of to piggyback off of discussion about charities and whatnot, we have the Honor Our Heroes 5K coming up on Memorial Day weekend. I know you're planning on running? You're running? Anyone else running?
We're driving the golf cart.
Driving the cart, leading the way.
I'll be waving.
The pace car?
Pace car.
So that starts at 7 a.m. on Saturday, the 29th, and I believe there are still spots available. You can sign up or get more information at oldsmarcares.com, or .org, excuse me. Second, I got a message right near the start of the meeting relative to wheeling, and probably right around the time it was brought up in open forum, about a youth that received a ticket recently for $166 for no light and no helmet. That sounds like a pretty stiff one for some kids that are trying to have fun, maybe doing it a little recklessly. So I definitely look forward to trying to come up with alternatives to how to.
Are you sure it wasn't a warning?
From the message I got, it was a ticket.
Got it.
It could be wrong.
Okay.
But word on the street.
All right.
The next thing, I just wanted to, I don't know if it's right now or maybe at the tentative agenda, I think we should really do the proper service to what the recommendations have come from the Ordinance Review Committee relative to the salary. I'm very interested in that referendum type activity towards that. I think that might be a good route to get more of the voice and hear from what the public really thinks relative to how we sitting up here should or should not be compensated for that matter. That's all I'll have to say about that right now. And finally, go Bolts.
There you go.
Thank you.
Councilmember Saraki.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say this past Saturday, Jerry Beaverland was here in the council chambers. He did his history lesson to the Oldsmobile Club of Florida and the Historical Society. There was about 27 people present. He did a great job. He really did. He talked for an hour. He talked for a whole hour. I couldn't believe it. He did a great job. Wanda, his wife Wanda, was here. After that, we went over to Ariel's Park. After that, they went downstairs to the museum. We finally opened the museum after the pandemic. And then after that, we went to Ariel's Park, and I cooked hamburgers and hot dogs. And I want to thank Steve, Mayor, coming out. They ate, what, five? You had 5, you had 4 hot dogs?
I had 6.
6, 7.
They're really good.
Yeah, it was good. And I appreciate that. And then on Sunday, there was a benefit for a man who had a heart transplant, and my wife made 85 cookies, and I guess they made $600 just on the baked goods. They made tons of money, so that was a really nice event for that. What was that?
The Women's Club. The
Oh, yeah, the
Club.
Oldsmar Women's Club. Yes, they made the baked goods, and I know Al's wife Carla made cookies too. That was a great event. And then this Saturday, I guess Steve, Andrew, you're the only one that can't make it. You're out of town, but I appreciate everyone coming to the Suncoast League of Cities Awards dinner. We have Ed Hooper, Ben Diamond, Chris Letvala. There's quite a few representatives from around the state coming to that, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all there for that awards dinner. Thank you. And I guess Felicia's coming too, and Ann, and Al. So it's going to be a party in Oldsmar.
No,
Not actually in Oldsmar. We got to go to Serrata, but it's okay.
The Serrata is still going to be a party.
It's going to be a party somewhere. And I understand it's like a Hawaiian shirt
Yep, I got
thing.
a
Is
new
that?
Hawaiian shirt. It's pretty wild. You're going to enjoy it. It's a Hawaiian wild shirt.
All right.
Where you don't have to wear a tie. Usually it's a tie event, but we decided this is the first event we're going to have with open air. COVID's over, so we decided to keep it casual. So
Good.
it's going to be a real fun event. I'm looking forward to all you guys coming. Thank you so much. That's all I have.
Excellent. Councilmember Graber.
Thank you, Mayor. I didn't have much other than to say I'm getting used to a lot of things, as I probably talked to some of you guys about. And so I couldn't come up with council comments today, so I asked my 5-year-old daughter, well, soon to be 5-year-old, what should I say during council comments? And she said, Daddy, do you want to talk about Santa? So I don't, but just to let you know that it's on her mind, and it looks like the big guy's going to have to come through this coming December. One other thing I am getting used to is my first or second day after I got sworn in, I sent an email to Felicia, and I discussed the importance of shade at bus stops. And because folks that are disabled, veterans, lower income communities tend to use the bus more often than other folks. And so the sun has a higher impact, environmental aspects have higher impacts on those communities. And so one of the things that I had learned was that if we examine the amount of shade at the bus stops, we can actually help those folks out. And so 2 days later, maybe, I got an email back, and there had already been a comprehensive study done after I made the suggestion of every single bus stop that's located on roads within Oldsmar that we owned. And Alexis, our certified arborist, made a determination as to whether or not there was sufficient shade, or if there wasn't, could we put trees there? In some cases we couldn't because there's ditches along St. Pete Drive, those sorts of things. So I found out, or we determined, that there was only 2, which is actually really good news. And the other ones on St. Pete that we can't do because of the ditches, that'll be done during the Complete Streets program. So it was just an idea that I had, but I wanted to thank Felicia for taking it on and doing it, and being able to see that come through is something that I take, it means a great deal to me, and I just wanted to make sure that I said something about it tonight. But other than that, Mayor, go Bolts. That's all I had.
Very good, and we're getting used to you, too.
Yeah,
just so
well,
you know.
yeah, feeling's mutual. Feeling
So
is
we're on the
mutual.
same page here. Here, I do have some items tonight. City Manager, do you want to kind of share, I know you did it informally with the council, but a little bit some of the background you found on what some other communities have done ordinance-wise?
Yes, sir. We kind of failed to a degree in Councilmember Gannon's request for specific information on calls because there isn't that much detail in the system of how they're recorded. So we didn't get much useful data out of that. I have met with CPOs Doherty and Tutco, and Laura had a suggestion that involved an ordinance, and she gave me a sample from, I want to say it was Delray, but it was another community that suggested that there was the potential for kind of a confiscation of the bikes if the violation either repeats or is not, addressed, and we would impound them for a period of time until the parents came back to collect them to kind of drive the point home. So I will present something for discussion purposes to the council to see if you wanted to consider that. We also know, as you've described, that we have some community interest in maybe some kind of diversion program that I know very little about, but I think all I wanted to express was that we have the potential for something I would give to Tom to create an ordinance that would give us the authority or give the SO the authority to confiscate the bike under certain limited circumstances. Not that they would do that automatically as everything else they do. There'd be a measured series of responses to, the first confrontation or interaction with the kids, but I'll present something for council consideration soon on that.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Katie, for bringing up the Fallen Officers Memorial. Very moving, and this year, of course, twice as hitting home, for lack of a better word. So it was nice to be able to be out there and represent the city with the other elected officials to show our respect.
Speaker Sprowls gave such a good speech.
Yeah. I wanted to just give a shout out to the Chamber on their jobs fair. We were part of that. The final, they had over 100 candidates come out. And it sounds like the 40 or so businesses that were there got 2 to 6 applicants, which sounds like I was there, and I think you made it out there later. And
I got there later.
you were out there. We had the traffic coming over, right? Yeah. But in speaking with all of them, that sounds like kind of a good day, because we talked to all the different businesses out there. So Memorial Day, virtual, just so you know, we did try to move that. But we were concerned because the timing of when the restrictions faded off and when the Veterans Affairs Committee had met and already made that decision, they missed each other. And so I asked them to take a look at it again, and they were willing to, but then there was these, Mark Burrell was talking about some of the more finer points, and we just started getting the feeling that, well, we don't want to take a chance that we missed something or can't do something right because we didn't have the time to really plan it. And I, of course, was thinking, we'll just do the same thing but do it outside, but there's more to it, like with a guest speaker and all the other stuff when it's outside. So we're going to have it. We're going to broadcast it. We're going to save the broadcast and play it so everybody can see it. A little humor in there somewhere. Anybody who knows the story will appreciate it. All right, and then Councilmember Saragi talked about this Scott Perry heart transplant benefit, which was on Sunday. I have to tell you, you're always reminded of what a community we live in because, the Women's Club was involved, Lifting Hearts Together was involved. A lot of different organizations and folks all came together. I understand that they raised almost $10,000. Wow. And that's kind of the part of what they were looking for. And Scott's doing really well with the heart transplant. But it was just nice to see everybody out there and pitching in, and it was really good. And of course, Pam Geary out there, she's cracking the whip, get in here, we're doing an auction, the way she's just like, there's no shyness there, which is what makes it work. But all those folks did such a great job. I wanted to make a point of mentioning it. And the last item I have is go Bolts, because they started playing about 20 minutes ago. All right, 1-0. Us? All right, well, good. All right, so that's all I got. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the tentative agenda as presented. Do I have a second? Oh, anybody want to pull anything? Sorry.
I just wanted to bring to your attention, the last item under city attorney and the fourth item under city manager are exactly the same. So we can remove it from under the city manager.
Okay.
And just place it under city attorney.
All right, so the chair will entertain a motion. Does anybody wish to pull anything first? If anybody wish to amend anything? Would you like to make an amendment, Katie? I'd like to.
Wish to add to the agenda discussion of section 2-2, compensation of mayor and council.
Excellent. Another addition to move item 4.
Just remove it under city manager because it's already under city attorney.
All right, so let's remove item 4. The chair will also entertain an amendment to remove item 4 under city manager. Yes?
It's the same thing
Oh, okay.
as that one there.
So you'll leave it under you and move it away from, delete it from him?
Yes,
Because you want to take it, okay?
I'll take it.
I see, yeah. All right, so we have 2 amendments. Does anybody wish to make any further amendments or pull anything? All right. We'll go ahead and vote on the amendments. All in favor of amending as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, now we're back to the amended motion. The chair, we had a motion already, didn't we? We had a motion and a second. All right, any discussion? It was painful. All right, sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion to second does not require a vote. We're adjourned.